Welcome to episode 173 of the Microsoft Cloud IT Pro podcast, recorded live on April 9, 2020. This is a show about Microsoft 365 and Azure from the perspective of IT pros and end users, where we discuss a topic or recent news and how it relates to you. In this episode, with the recent uptake and usage of Microsoft Teams, Zoom, and Slack, Ben and Scott compare the tools and discuss why people should stop pitting these tools against each other. This is not our sleepy Scott and Ben. This is our wide awake Scott and Ben. I don't know if that would be better or worse.
Tell you what, it would be something.
It would be something. Oh, so here we are, week 534 of staying at home.
Of isolation.
I no longer know what day it is. I no longer know what month it is. It's just another day. I was thinking of Groundhog Day. Remember the movie Groundhog Day?
Do I remember it? I've been watching it lately. Yes, it's an excellent movie.
It is like we're reliving Groundhog Day. We just wake up and it's always today. It's never tomorrow.
Yeah. If you're looking for another fun Bill Murray movie, like in this time of isolation and sitting back, and you've never seen it, you should go check out What About Bob?
I remember What About Bob.
What About Bob is one of those classics that just holds up over time.
You know what?
So well.
I need to go watch it again. It has been a long time. I think I only watched it once.
Well, it's time to get back in. And have you finished up Tiger King yet?
I have not started, and I refuse to start.
Oh, come on. Don't be that way. We could have a whole discussion about whether Carol actually killed her husband. Like, what did Joe do? Oh, man, we got to get you into it.
No, I have talked to people and everybody is like, it is absolutely terrible, but I got sucked in and I watched the whole thing because I just had to see the train wreck.
Yeah, we tried to stop after episode 1, but then, they autoplay so quick. I swear the vendors are just starting things quicker now. Like I've noticed on both Netflix and Prime, you're sitting there. Prime is really fast. Like Prime Video, it's 3 seconds and the next thing starts, like the next episode, and you're going, whoa, hold on. I didn't even have time to grab the remote. So, yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, it's funny. That's what I keep hearing from people. They're like, I watched the first episode, or I watched the first episode and a half, and it was so terrible I was going to turn it off, but I couldn't. Like, isn't that the epitome then of a great job by the writers or something? To create something that everybody thinks is so terrible they want to stop watching it, but they can't.
Yeah, I will tell you, it was shot in an excellent way. Like the team that shot it and made the documentary, they're great at getting the shot. They have some just shocking conversations with people. Like you don't even know how they got them on video to the point where you think it's a movie, but then you recognize that these people are just that dumb to say these things on camera, or maybe they're that cerebral and that smart. I really don't know. Just some of the things like you watch through, like the B-roll they have is great through the whole thing, and they weave an excellent story. So if you're looking to waste like 5 hours of your life, it is there.
There's always that. Oh. As IT professionals in the cloud era, sometimes it feels like we don't speak the same language as the rest of the organization. So when stakeholders from finance or other departments start asking about a specific project or team's Azure costs, they don't always realize how much work is involved in obtaining that information, sifting through cluttered CSVs and a complex mess of metadata in order to manually create custom views and reports. It's a real headache. On top of helping you understand and reduce your organization's overall Azure spend, ShareGate Overcast lets you group resources into meaningful cost hubs and map them to real-world business scenarios. This way, you can track costs in the way that makes most sense with your corporate structure, whether it's by product, business unit, team, or otherwise. It's a flexible, intuitive, and business-friendly way of tracking Azure infrastructure costs, and it's only available in ShareGate Overcast. Find out more on sharegate.com/ITPro. So, with a terrible segue, should we move from talking about video on Netflix and Amazon and all the fun video we've watched to video on meetings and some of the discussion that's happened in the last couple of weeks around different web conferencing platforms? And I may even pull some other platforms in here because it's been interesting as everybody has gone and started working from home to see this whole, really a battle is what I would call it, between specifically Teams and between Zoom.
Yeah, let's get into it.
And just
I'm excited.
Some interesting things too you've noticed. You said you've noticed some stuff with Teams with EDU, but I will say I had an update. So transparency, I use Zoom every week. We use Zoom for the podcast. We're using it right now. And if anybody wants to join our meeting CODIS, no, I'm not going to do that. But I could.
Come on, you could though.
I could though, because I've installed a couple Zoom updates. Zoom has been throwing out updates like daily over the last week or so. I don't know when this update happened because in all fairness, we last used Zoom when we recorded 6 days ago. And I haven't started another Zoom meeting since then. But you used to click on our link for our podcast. It would let you right in. You could do all of that. Today you went to join and it said, you have to wait for Ben to start the meeting. And then I started the meeting and you joined. And then I got a pop-up that you were waiting in I don't know if they call it the lobby or whatever. You were waiting and I had to admit you. I
just thought your Zoom OPSEC was getting that much better and you were trying to annoy me in all the wrong ways.
Yes, and I didn't. I have not updated. Well, I did update the meeting invite. It may have gone and pulled out some different settings, but I did not update any settings or anything around our meeting other than I did have to reschedule it because we're recording on Thursday instead of Friday. And all of this stuff just got turned on by default for a pre-existing scheduled meeting. So I am not doing any better at my Zoom OPSEC. Apparently Zoom is, and rightly or wrongly, they just went and enabled all of this stuff on my meetings that I already had scheduled. I had no idea. Who knew? So, one piece of advice, if you are using Zoom and you want some of these settings set the way they were originally, you may want to go look at your settings. You may have to make some changes or people might not be able to get into your meeting until you get there.
I think there's some things like that. Yeah, they've just been pushing out all these updates. And, I think it's like every other day I've seen an update to the Zoom client locally.
Yep.
But there have been some good blogs out there from folks. Like Liam Cleary had a really good one. Still using Zooms for meetings. Want to still keep using Zoom for meetings. Like here's some things that, you might want to take a look at just to make sure that you are maybe positioned the right way and that you have set up some of these settings in a manner that actually puts you in a better place.
Yeah, and they did add a security tab at the bottom now too. So I have a separate tab now where I can just click security and I can go in and do things like enable that waiting room or lock the meeting and choose what I want to allow participants to do. So there's some really nice updates that have come out of this. I think getting on my soapbox for a minute, the part that bugged me about all of this, when all of this came out was, I'm not going to call anybody out by name. There were some people that were non-Microsofties. There were some Microsoft people that I saw saying this is everybody all of a sudden jumped on Zoom is terrible. Go use Teams because Zoom has horrible security. It was instilling this sense of fear in a bunch of people that used Zoom. Saying it was this terrible, right? Saying it was this terrible, insecure platform. Stop using it altogether. And yes, there were obviously some security things that have come out of this. There's been some security things about the whole end-to-end encryption and where it's sending data. But at the end of the day, even before all of this, I have used Zoom for years. There were certain settings you can enable. You have always been able to password protect meetings. You've always been able to set different 10-digit invitation URLs. They've had those 10-digit URLs forever. There were ways you could protect it, and I genuinely was not worried about using Teams or Zoom. When all of this stuff started coming out, my daughter was using Zoom meetings for other stuff. I was like, you know what? I know the people running the meetings. I'm sitting here. I'm seeing the meetings. I'm seeing how they have it set up. You could secure your meetings fairly well if you knew what you were doing, made the right settings, made the right adjustments. I will give them that, yes, it is not as secure as Teams. You look at the URL to join a Teams meeting. It is significantly longer. There is more security around Teams. But at the end of the day, I felt like Zoom got a little bit of a bad rap from some people in terms of how terrible they were portraying the platform to be.
Yeah, I think it's certainly a training thing, and that tends to be something. Like any new tool, anytime you install a piece of software, if your first inclination is just to next your way into it, you're going to be on the happy path or the easy path. And for stuff like Zoom, that's why Zoom is really popular, because it's super easy. The friction's not there. Yep. I can just give you a URL and you can join my meeting, and I can record it on my end, like in the case of like the podcast here, right, to get audio out of it. If we have guests on or things like that, it is super simple. Versus stuff like Teams, there's no such thing as just training someone on Teams. I could train you all day on Teams, and you probably still won't know how to use it effectively within your organization or for the purpose. Like, you have to go through and do so much more, right? You even go and you look at Microsoft's training material for Teams. It doesn't start with how to use the Teams client. It starts with an entire adoption program. Right? How do we drive organizational change to get everybody to use this tool in a fundamentally different way and change their business? Where Zoom is just, I want to have a meeting. Right. Let's meet now.
Yes.
And that's where they excel. They do the meet now button better than the meet now button inside of Teams, which just confuses everybody when like, oh my God, this channel is having a meeting. What's going on?
Right. Exactly. And I think you hit on the other thing that bugs me is you mentioned the purpose of it. And that was the other aspect. Like the Zoom meetings my daughter has been on, it's a nonprofit, small organization. Everybody that does it is volunteer. They don't have IT staff. They're not going to go stand up Teams. Teams is so much more than what you said, a meet now. I want to do a quick video meeting. I want to do it once a month. I want all these girls to be able to get on and talk to each other and try to continue their normal face-to-face meetings in person, or as not in person, but as close as they can by doing video. I don't need the collaboration. I don't need the document sharing. I don't need the planner. I don't need all this other, in this case, I don't need all this other baggage that comes with Teams just to do a meeting. I just want to do a video meeting. Zoom is amazing for that. Now, you want to collaborate. You want to pull in documents. You want a whole suite of products where you can work together as an organization. Oh, and by the way, as a part of all of that functionality, you get to do meetings also. Great. Teams is going to blow Zoom away when it comes to, I need to collaborate with my coworkers and have all of this stuff in one spot. And that's the other part that gets to me is these two tools, while they get compared a lot, have two very different purposes as their core underlying business vision, as their core underlying, this is what our business is about. Zoom is about meetings. Teams is about collaboration.
Yeah, very much so. They are different tools for different jobs, and you lump them into that same category, and it starts to muddy the waters pretty quickly.
Yeah. So that's some of what's bugged me. And some of this came out of, have you started reading The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek?
I have not. Do I need to go read yet another book? Because I've been reading a lot of books.
You should. So this was really interesting because in The Infinite Game, he compared Microsoft, and this is kind of taking a little bit of a tangent from this topic, but he talks about all these companies, Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, big companies, but this relates to any company, and how all of these companies are in an infinite game. So when you think of a game, and this is going to kind of give you a high-level synopsis, a game has a defined starting point, it has rules, it has an ending point, and there is a pre-agreed upon condition for who the winner of is the game, right? You always know who wins a game.
Unless it's global thermonuclear war and war games, but yes, I digress.
Unless it's that. In business, all of these companies talk about winning. We beat such and such a company. Let's just go to the Teams example. Microsoft tries to say, we beat Zoom. We're going to beat Zoom. Or Teams is saying, we're going to beat Slack. How does a company actually beat somebody? There's no rules for how you play. These companies can do whatever they want to. They tend to follow certain strategies, but there's no defined rules of how you play the game of business. There's no defined ending point of when you finish the game of business. It is an infinite game. And as a company, all you're trying to do is to keep playing the game. you're not trying to beat anybody else. Your sole purpose in business is for your business not to close, to continue to play the game. So this whole book is about how you shift that mindset from, I'm going to go beat whoever with my company, to, I just want to keep playing the game. I want to stay in business. I just want to keep going and going and going. My mindset should not be about beating somebody. It should be about continuing to play.
Gotcha. That'll make sense.
So yeah, it was a really interesting book, and just how that switch in mindset can affect different companies and how some companies have done it better than others. And he does draw a lot of, I feel like everybody draws a parallel, but he draws some things from Apple and from Microsoft and some of his involvement with both of those companies. So yeah. Outlook add-ins are a great way to improve productivity and save time in the workplace, and Sperry Software has all the add-ins you'll ever need. The Save as PDF add-in is a bestseller and is great for project backups, legal discovery, and more. This add-in saves the email and attachments as PDF files. It's easy to download, easy to install, and Sperry Software's unparalleled customer service is always ready to help. Download a free trial at sperrysoftware.com, SPERRYSOFTWARE.com, and see for yourself how great Save as PDF is. Listeners can get 20% off their order today by entering the code CLOUDIT. That's CLOUDIT, CLOUDIT, all one word at checkout. Sperry Software, work in email, not on email. That was that. And this was my other soapbox item, was I pull Slack into this too. Because you keep hearing too that Teams wants to beat Slack, right? This is the new Slack. This is better than Slack. Our growth rate is better than Slack.
So let's throw that out there.
Okay.
That is 100% like pure marketing, right?
It is.
That is all that is. So if you look at Slack from a functionality perspective versus like Teams, it becomes a nice place to put the comparison box up and say, well, we do this and they don't do that. But they're fundamentally different things, and they're on totally different scales.
Right.
You've got, 4 to 5x the number of like daily active users in Teams. Teams is built on this whole other platform with Azure and SharePoint and Exchange and all this stuff. Like, I hate the Teams versus Slack comparison, because they are like very much like Teams and Zoom are not the same. Teams and Slack are not the same. Like, the things that I do in Slack and the Slack communities that I'm a part of, we get so much more done in Slack. And I fundamentally believe we could not transition some of those conversations and processes and just the way those conversations naturally occur over to something like Teams without it having be just, like an absolute poop show. whether that's driven from like the UI, like, don't get me started on how. Have you ever met a person, like, let's talk about like UI in Teams.
Yep.
Have you ever met somebody who's actually figured out the way to do a reply the right way in a thread? Like, I've been using Teams for years and I still need to think about where I'm clicking. But if you're on the mobile client, it's all good and it just works. It's like, I can walk in, my wife's a teacher, and so she's at home now as they do remote learning. And the school system she works for, they're using Teams for all their remote learning for their kids, right? I think, yeah, that's really cool to see all that stuff used. I can go in and like look over her shoulder just as I'm walking through the kitchen, and the threads are horrible, right? I mean, I work with a business of like 20 people, is like the core company I work for. And I dread going into Teams sometimes just because I cringe every time I see somebody can't reply to something the right way. Right? And that's like just one thing that like Teams does horribly that Slack does perfectly, right? Because it's just a big stream of chats and everybody can figure it out. Like, I never felt lost in Slack before they added threading.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. And I do the same thing. Like, the threads, and to be fair, I do run across the same problem in Slack, is that sometimes I forget to start a thread and I just keep replying instead of starting threads. But for whatever reason, Teams is significantly harder. I do the same thing where I go in and I reply and I'm like, oh, that should have been a reply under that message, not a reply with a new chat instead of a reply. I don't even know how to describe the difference between the two. But that's been that other comparison, is I keep seeing Teams versus Zoom and Teams versus Slack. And they do, kind of like you said, they fall into the same boat for me. It's not comparing apples and apples when you're comparing either one of those.
They are 100% different tools for different jobs, right? I could see some organizations out there hopping into like Office 365 or M365 and never having to use Teams for chat. So throw the security thing out the window and go back to, like ease of use and getting in there. They might just use like Office 365 groups and Planner, and then they're all set. And they're still chatting over in Slack or whatever they used to use before they came to Teams, because they don't want to have to drag a user community with them, kicking and screaming and bleeding from banging their head against the wall so hard for trying to figure out like how we got there. And then you've got like Slack adding functionality like join a Microsoft Teams call and things like that. It's all over the place now.
Right. And I totally get that. So because I'm on a Mac, I had to suffer with Skype for Business, whatever their client was. It was still 2011, or the whole Skype for Business thing has always been weird on a Mac until Teams came to fruition. So I would say up until probably 6 or 8 months ago, I was in that boat of I do Office 365 for everything, unless I have to have a meeting with you, in which case we're going to use Zoom because it works and it's easy. And we're not going to spend the first 15 minutes of our meeting banging our head against the wall, trying to figure out why I can't hear each other, trying to figure out how to share screens. It was very much that use case. Because I'm a solo independent contractor, everybody that was coming to the meeting was external. Nobody was in my Teams client, or I was using Skype, which was horrendous on the Mac. And Zoom worked, and I needed something for meetings that worked. So I was in that boat of, you know what, I'm using Office 365. I have Skype, I have Teams. They're great, but they don't work. So I'm going to use Zoom. And same thing with Slack. I am in Slack and Teams daily. I'm probably a part of 15 different Slack groups. I'm a guest in 10 or 12 different Teams tenants. I use them all, and it's based on the client's needs and where they are, and based on the type of people that are in the group. And like you said, the interaction. Are we collaborating around projects, and are we using Planner and SharePoint and all of those? And the chat in Teams is kind of that benefit. It's not our core driver. Great. We use Teams. It works. There are definitely things that are fundamentally more confusing, that are a little bit more of a challenge. But at the end of the day, when you look at all the requirements, Teams fits it best. Other ones, all we really need to do is chat. We don't care so much about files. We're not having regular meetings. It's a big group. I mean, one of the Slack groups I'm in is, I forgot how many people are in it, 20,000? 20,000 people in a Slack group that we never meet. Everybody just needs a place to chat, share ideas, talk. And for that, Slack is great. I cannot imagine having a team with 20,000 people, all from different organizations.
Well, I could bring you into some Yammer communities. There's some messy ones.
Well, but that brings in Yammer. So are we going to turn this into Yammer and Teams now too?
No. Okay. The other interesting thing, or one of the things that I would say Slack does a lot better, even in their free tiers, like let's not get into the whole free versus paid and all that, but Slack is arguably more stable when it comes to change. So for example, one of the things I do in Slack, like one of the groups I participate in is built around like product and product feedback.
Yep.
So simple things like monitoring like an RSS feed for a Twitter search, or heck, just like native Twitter integrations for searching, for monitoring Twitter searches, or for watching like individual hashtags or even users, things like that. Like that stuff is just rock solid. Those plugins don't really change. They just get better over time, right? All those integrations that you can add in.
Yep.
Versus something like Teams, same thing over in Teams. I would like to just monitor like app mentions back to my company. That connector has changed 2 or 3 times in the last couple of years. Every single time it's gotten worse, and it's been deprecated to the point where they've even like just taken it out of Teams, and now they want you to use Flow to do everything. meeting, or Power Automate with a flow, rather. Let's get
Don't get me started
right
on that
there.
one.
And the functionality is not the same, right? It continues to, the only constant with something like Teams is that it's always changing underneath you, right? So I can look at like Zoom, like back to how we started this conversation with, okay, the settings changed for how you join a meeting, but the fundamentals of how we performed the meeting did not change, right? Once we were in, it was still easy to get our audio going. We could still do the recording. Like, it was all just right there and it was front and center. Slack does a big redesign, but fundamentally, like, the core things that you know about it to be true and that you've learned about it are still true. Teams comes through and does a change, and it's like, who moved my frickin' cheese again?
Yeah.
It's just gone. And that stuff is like, that's the killer thing. And that's what drives you to Teams, is you have to have this whole adoption program. It can't be just training. It needs to be more holistic versus these other tools that just do what they need to do.
Yep.
They don't have to be everything to everybody, right? Like, Zoom does not need to be the best chat messaging platform across multiple meetings at the same time. All you have to do is click a link and join a meeting.
Right.
That's pretty easy. Slack, same kind of thing. Like, yeah, you can do meetings and all that stuff in there, but what do we need to do? We need to be a great, like, organizational cross-team chat platform. Can we do that? Yes. Done.
Yep, exactly. And then going back to Teams, we need enterprise collaboration. We need it to be secure, because that's the other thing. Like, one thing Teams does really well is, because it's in that whole ecosystem, your data is going to be secure. You can do DLP on chats. You can do the Microsoft information protection to protect sensitive content. Fundamentally, Teams is probably going to be more secure than any of the other platforms, because that's Microsoft's target. They're targeting enterprise. They are targeting companies that may care more about security than they do ease of use. And users are maybe not going to be able to do things quite as easily. Or again, they just need the integration. They need everything to tie together seamlessly without going and installing all these integrations and going and buying 5 different products that you all cobble together to get work, because everything's built right in. So,
well, don't get me started. I think Teams feels very cobbled together okay. Sometimes when you go to do things.
So there are some times
like
it does feel cobbled together.
Well,
we're not talking about private channels here, Scott. Speaking of cobbled together.
In general,
right.
Like, it's not clear, right? You have too much. I mean, I sit there and I listen to, my wife talking in the kitchen. I'll leave like the door open to the office, and, still like 3 weeks into this, they're still talking about like, well, a student clicked on Planner, and what does that mean? And how did they add a Planner plan to this channel, and what's going on, and what's happening, right? The issue I see, like, with my wife's organization, like from a school perspective, they had to get into these tools so quick that, because it's not easy to use, they haven't gone through the adoption thing. They've barely gone through the training thing. Teachers are creating like custom training videos for their students for how to do things, and they don't know the native features of something. Like, what was one this morning? Oh, a teacher wanted to call out like "good job" to a bunch of students in a particular class that had done their homework the night before, but they just did that in just a single post in a channel. They didn't mention anybody, so the students will never see it because the teacher posted it at 6 a.m. By the time those students come into school at like 11 a.m. for their first conference, all the other chats are going to have pushed that way up the screen. Right? So they get no notification. And even if they had mentioned them, like, was that enough for the students? Like, potentially you got to think about the kids there, right? Like, how is a kid going to react better? Are they going to react better to seeing a red exclamation around a number when they log into Teams? Or would they react better if, when they click the exclamation, like, oh, what's wrong? Maybe they saw something like a praise post, with a nice big banner that says, here you go, you've done something nice. But if I never told you about @mentions, and, the type ahead stuff, like, yeah, I know it's there, but it's janky. And, it's been throttled and up, down, left, right, as this whole thing kicks off. So it barely works now. Not that it ever really worked before. You go ahead and combine something like that, and you don't know that, hey, like, praise is there, or not even like animated GIFs or things like that, but being able to do like custom memes and all that, like that would all be great stuff for kids, and they just don't know about it's there. And that's like one little feature, right, that could change a kid's day.
Right. Although to be fair, some of that exists in Slack too. Like Slack is the same thing. If you don't @mention somebody, they may never see it. You still need to know about the @mentions and some of the plugins in Slack. Some of those, like the GIFs, they have the button right underneath the message. You click the button to do GIFs. Where in Slack, you actually have to know to go install the GIF integration, and then you have to know about the / commands to do Giphy or GIF, whatever it is. There's a few different ones there. So I think some of it too, at the fundamental level, well, some of the things are definitely a lot easier in one platform versus the other. At the end of the day, it still comes down to training. There were a lot of people that got thrown into a lot of stuff without just having adequate training on any of it, regardless of the platform and what it is. Slack may be easier to find stuff because it tends to be a little bit, it's not as enterprisey, so I think the training tends to be a little bit simpler. It's easier to figure out how to do stuff by just Googling it, versus Teams, you tend to dive into some of that enterprisey training type stuff and not just the basic how-to. I don't know.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes for some organizations, right? Like the Department of Ed in New York City just said, you have to stop using Zoom. So they've been remote learning for a couple of weeks, and they're like 2 weeks into it. And then, okay, now there's a new edict. You can't use Zoom. So you've got to go to either Google or Microsoft provided services, like things the district and county and education system are licensed for.
Yeah.
So that'll all be very interesting.
It will be.
Let's come back and see what happened with New York City in 3 weeks for their schooling.
Yeah, we can have this conversation all over again. I have started doing some videos though, Scott. You saw some of them on YouTube. I've started doing like short little Teams videos on how to do something in 2 minutes or less, like @mentions or group chats or some of that basic stuff, because I have found that people just don't always know how to do that and understand it. So if you want to go watch 2-minute YouTube videos, self-promotion, I have 2-minute YouTube videos that I've been slowly trickling out there on how to do different things.
Intelligink.
Yes, the Intelligink YouTube channel. We can link it in the show notes because we have the power to affect our show notes.
Yep. Now we just got to teach you how to create a custom playlist for that. Oh, you do have one. Teams Into. Look at that. I found it all on my own.
You know how to use YouTube. Congratulations, Scott. No, I also have a Teams webinar out there that I did a week or so ago. I threw that out there with a bunch of Q&A, and that one is also more of the basic end user stuff. I need to do an admin one because people have been asking for one, but so far I've been doing all the end user stuff. So go check it out. That's all I have. I can get off my soapbox now, but end of the day, I'm just tired of seeing the comparison between some of those products because fundamentally, like we said, they have different purposes, different uses. Some things are better at something than other things are. Use what works best for you based on your requirements.
That's it. Really, that's like what it boils down to. And recognize the tools and things like that. So everybody talks about like Zoom has security issues and it's not really end-to-end encrypted and all that. It's like, okay, so I'm not like a top secret government organization, like we're not dealing in rocket science secrets here.
Right.
Like, do I really care?
Top secret information.
All right. So my call got routed through China. Okay. What did I give up there?
Yeah. Did China really not know you were doing that already anyways? I mean, Billy,
they heard us talk about, Zoom, Teams, and Slack. Oh no.
Yes.
So you have to be cognizant of those kinds of things, and all the stuff's a trade-off, blah blah blah. But
you know what? If they take down their firewall and let people listen to if they take down their firewall and let people listen to us in China, they'd be able to figure it all out without trying to hack Zoom. I don't think we have any downloads from China. I can't remember. I'd have to go look. I don't know. We can end with that. I've got nothing else.
Alrighty. Well, let's do it then. I need more coffee anyway.
Yeah, I do too. I'm almost out. Go enjoy your week. Glad you're feeling better. You sound much better. And we will talk to you again next week.
All right. Thanks, Ben.
If you enjoyed the podcast, go leave us a 5-star rating in iTunes. It helps to get the word out so more IT pros can learn about Office 365 and Azure. If you have any questions you want us to address on the show or feedback about the show, feel free to reach out via our website, Twitter, or Facebook. Thanks again for listening and have a great day.